Hello, welcome back to another improper. You're not even in the camera.
No, no, no,
Come
no,
on.
no, I don't need it.
You're not in the cam. I'm not. I'm not pulling you into the camera. God. Oh, now you got. Now you did.
No, I'm good.
Okay, that's fine.
Hello, right there.
So, welcome back to another improper vlog with Tyler Fu and Joanna's finger. Having fun there?
Yes.
All right, so I've been meaning to do this vlog for a while, and I've been putting it off for so very long, and I think it'd be more appropriate if I actually talk about it with the camera facing my face. Oh God, why the fuck did I fucking buy this fucking thing? And okay, cool. So depression is a very terrible thing to think about, but like I don't know, it's been on my mind for a pretty long time, and a lot of it goes back to what you do beyond despair, beyond depression, and um, a little backstory from me, because this has been like an anniversary kind of a thing for me. So I've been through like a lot of depressions. My most prominent thing in my life was when I was victimized by my mother through a case of a domestically violent situation, and it gets rough. It gets rough when you're in the when you're in that type of domestic violence, because half the time you feel like your parents are meant to be there for you, and that like you get depressed to where like if your parents can't love you appropriately, then how else can anyone will? And a lot of your judgment on people's affection towards you ends up being based on how your parents affect you. So for my case, I've always felt like I had to prove to others that I deserved their love and attention the same way I had to earn my parents. And it took a long while, and it took me to meet Joanna to understand there was a difference. And that through that difference, I was realized that what I was feeling through my parents, what I had with my mom wasn't the best of parental love, and a lot of my depression came from fighting against the system that I had with my mom, to wondering if it's hopeless or it's useless fighting against her, because every time I fought against my mom, high school would get really bad for me, to where like I had to get to a certain like amount of weight lost in order to see my friend's 19th birthday party. And then when that happened, I ended up just like I just I just splurged on food, because like I was starving myself to get to that point. I starved, and I took laxatives to get to a certain weight goal, because my mom didn't like the kind of weight that I had. And rather than being open to the idea that the number on the scale didn't matter if I felt comfortable with my body and I was actually losing weight. I was losing body fat, but the weight didn't change as much, and so she judged her affection and her recognition of me based on how much I weighed and what my grades were in high school and college. And going through that when I was in high school and college, you don't think about it sometimes, because it might sound like a normal thing to where like how much GPA you made in school affected like your pursuit and career. That makes sense. But like it almost came to a point from my own perspective and from my own experience that whenever my GPA or whenever I brought home bad grades, it limited my social connections to others. So like there was even a point to where my grades were so low from my parents, from my mom's perspective, that I couldn't even socialize with my classmates. so that I can get the help that I needed. And I had to personally like solve these by myself. And it gets to like a weird dualism to where like my mom keeps telling me, "Oh, you should get some rest. You should try it again in the morning." And like I couldn't at the time I couldn't waste sleep because I was so consumed by my grade, and that affected my health. So with depression affects you a lot in your mental health and your physical health, to where like you sometimes miss care and you don't take care of yourself well enough for the sake of X, Y, and Z. And once I moved out of that like situation with my mom, and with like the physical abuse like removed, the emotional abuse removed, I felt personally that I was recovering. The time away from her, I realized that like she had no strength over me, but I allowed her to have that strength on me the longer I stayed with her. So when I moved out, I took my first steps into being my own person, and I kind of like got out of my own despair that way by becoming the kind of hero that I just wanted to be. Because it's funny too, because during around that same time, I went through like a whole missionary thing. I went through like a church religious phase, and I still am. So during June of 2015, I was baptized into either Christianity or Catholic, into being a Catholic. It doesn't matter. But I was baptized. I recognized that Jesus and God is my Savior, and I may be a bad Christian, but I found happiness and I found content through religious work. And a lot of it, like from what I learned during my time studying the book a lot before that event, I realized that Jesus was an active follower of God. He wasn't passive. He was actively pushing out the idea of God, and he was not like sitting on his chair. He wasn't being very idle. He went out physically, walked around physically, and acted on his belief physically. So it for me is more of a revelation to where like no matter how many times, no matter how much that I pray that I change my environments, or if I change my like my atmosphere, where I'm living, that's only half of the work, and the other half is me actually actively going out and saving myself. And the other half of me is saved by my community and saved by my atmosphere. That's granted. And like some people may argue that it's 100% you. You either decide to get yourself out of that shithole, or you keep content with your situation. And some people are in a tug of war with that idea. I just feel like, from my perspective, what matters the most is your attempt. If you're trying to get out of your situation, you're doing the other half of the work of just praying and just changing the situation that you're in, and changing where you are and your community. If you've done that half of the work, and you've done the other half of just actively living each day, taking gratitude in what you've been capable of reaching out for, then that is a sign of you winning. And for me, it's tough because like last year and this year, it's been a long year. It's been a good year of me getting a new job, getting a new place in Kirkland, Washington, seeing Joanna more often, and just a whole bunch of things, and being able to be more. I feel like I'm in a better place than I was last year, in the sense that last year, from 2015 to last year this month, I didn't see Joanna as often, even though we are partners and we've decided to see each other for the rest of our lives, but we didn't live with each other. But now we're in a better situation where we're practically moved in. I won't go into details. That's my business. But rather than being so so workaholic to where I was in a workaholic phase from 2015 to 2017 where I didn't see I didn't see many of my friends, and I didn't get invited out a lot. And as much as someone told me that it was my fault for canceling, I personally don't feel like that's entirely true, because it takes two sides to it, because my friends just stopped calling me out because they assumed that I was busy. So it might be my fault, yeah. It's half of it's me denying their invitation, but it doesn't change that they gave up on me. So for my friends that did give up on me, by just the act of not inviting me anymore, or not talking to me as much anymore. That's so that was a weird setback. But point being, for those of you that felt like you couldn't, for those of you that gave up on reaching out to me, I don't blame you. I said no to you guys enough to make you feel like I didn't want to see you guys anymore. That's on me, and that's also on you. Either you accept half the blame of not reaching out to me because you are my friend. If you can't accept that, then I can't blame you, and I can't hold a grudge, because that's going to rot in my soul. So there's that. And for those of you who still feel like you're going through depression, I'm with you 100%. What I wish someone told me was the idea that you need to aspire and actively become the kind of hero you want to be saved by. And I know it sucks for you sometimes, or it sucks for people sometimes, to where they don't feel like they're up for it or what they're doing is enough. But you have to understand that any attempt of you changing your situation, any attempt, no matter how little or how large, from setting your alarm to wake up to following through with a commitment to a friend of yours, that is a win, and that is enough. No one else is judging you harder than yourself. And despite the number of voices that are playing in your head, all those voices are you. You are your worst enemy, regardless of what others say. If they discourage you, you don't have to keep them in your life. If they encourage you, you have a choice to keep them in your life. That's just how it is. You cannot value yourself based on those around you. You have to value yourself based on your own morale. Become and actively work towards being the kind of hero you want to be saved by. That's my 2 cents. I need a rest. And as always, my name is What the Foo. I'm your friend, and I'll see you next time. Bye.